Welcome to Looking at the Basics of Developmentally Appropriate Practice. Developmentally appropriate practice means teaching young children in ways that meet learners where they are, individually and as a group. And it means helping children reach challenging and achievable goals that contribute to their ongoing learning and development. In this program, we introduce some of the key concepts of developmentally appropriate practice. Meet learners where they are. Challenging and achievable learning outcomes. Meaningful learning. And intentional teaching strategies. And then illustrate how they fit together in a high-quality early childhood program. Teachers determine where children are in order to help them continue learning. Teachers learn about children's interests, abilities, and developmental progress so they can meet learners where they are. It's vital to meet each learner where he or she is, whether the learner is 3 years old or 30 years old. After all, none of us likes it when someone fails to take our needs and learning level into account, whether we're at work, the auto shop, the computer store, or the bank.
Meet Matt Hanger. He is a small business owner looking for his first loan, a loan that will make his pet grooming dream a reality. He is looking to start a respectful relationship with his loan officer, an ongoing partnership, allowing him to learn about financing a successful business. This is Pamela Turner, bank loan officer. Her goal is to close this loan and expect future business from Mr. Hanger. Now let's watch as Pam tries to understand what Matt needs in order to help him get his first loan.
Okay, Matt, here's what I need from you to even start the application process. First, I'll need to know your proportion of debt to equity, along with an endorsement from the SBA, who in turn will license you with the SBIC. From there, we will need to figure your seasonal versus cyclical industry standard to see if you're even a candidate for capital venture funding.
Obviously not what poor Matt needs in order to learn more about the loan process. He hasn't learned anything. He doesn't feel respected. And this is definitely not the beginning of a trusting, ongoing relationship. Now, let's rewind, literally, and watch Pam try again. Maybe now she will help Matt understand the loan process and feel respected.
Well, it looks like you'll be needing about $50,000. That's what I would do if I were you. You do have a business plan, don't you? You know, a plan to pay us back. We give you the loan amount, and you pay us back in monthly installments. We'll be giving you a coupon book, and each month you'll take a receipt and you'll mail it in with your monthly payment.
Or maybe not. This isn't working too well either. Matt, again, is learning nothing. He's not feeling respected, and more than likely, he's not coming back. Let's rewind and try again. Maybe this time, Pam will attempt to meet Matt where he is, assess what he needs in order to help him go further.
Now, Matt, there are several things I need to learn from you in order to assess what you need from me. Okay. So let's get started. How much money were you looking to borrow?
About $50,000.
Yes. We're off to a good start. Pam is trying to understand where Matt is and what he needs to know in order to apply for a small business loan. Let's keep listening.
Well, it sounds to me as if you're interested in the equity finance loan. Now, that one has a variable interest rate that's tied to the prime. Are you familiar with that?
I am. What is the rate now, and how long will it be fixed before it goes to prime?
Well, we can do it several different ways. Here, let me show you.
There you have it. Pam is assessing what Matt already knows by asking him questions and listening to his answers. Pam then knows what she needs to explain to Matt and in how much detail. She can decide what is the best loan for Matt to apply for, knowing exactly what he needs. Therefore, Matt learns what he needs to know, and he feels respected.
Thank you so much for your advice, Pam. It's been extremely helpful.
No problem. It sounds like you have a great business idea. I know where I'm going to go when my 100-pound lab needs to be groomed.
Meet Matt and Pam. They have created an ongoing partnership that will enable a small business owner to achieve his pet grooming dream.
Now we're going to apply the ideas we learned in the previous video to work with young children. Teachers can use a variety of sources to learn where a child is. They can use systematic observation, samples of children's work, other assessments, the child's family, key informants from the child's community or cultural group, and the research base on children's learning and development. We learn best when what we are learning is meaningful to us, when we can connect it to what we already know. Let's move into a preschool classroom and see how one teacher makes learning meaningful as she meets her 3 to 5-year-old learners where they are.
So how far should I go, Alexi?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Children learn best when what they learn is meaningful. Teachers determine what is meaningful to individual children and to all of the children in their classrooms by collecting information from multiple sources. Brenda Hieronymus learns what the children need in her classroom by using multiple sources of information.
When I'm planning, I have to decide what to put in the entire room. So I have to think about my whole class and what I know about that class. So at the beginning of the year, even just this few weeks into the year, I know the general age group. So I know I have 3 to 5-year-olds. I know how many children I had last year and what their experiences might be. I also know about typical child development and typical development in math, the construction of math knowledge.
To build the children's math knowledge, Brenda plans math games connected to one of the children's favorite books, I Went Walking.
Let's see how many animals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't get to this one, 6. So right now I have 2 math games. One that's a little bit more complex because I have quite a few children who are returning from last year who will go to kindergarten, and I know what experiences they had last year. Then I also planned a game that's less abstract and more concrete for the younger or less experienced child.
Nizar's home language is Arabic. In English, he can only count consistently in sets of 3 or less. Based on Brenda's observations of Nizar and of the research base of children his age, she believes he should be able to count higher than that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, all right. When I was thinking about Nizar as I put out the math game, I was hoping that he would be able to hear me or some other children use the rote counting sequence at least up to 6, since there are 6 dots on the die, or perhaps if they wanted to count how many spaces there were between the animals on the math game, there might be some rote counting that goes on there. I was also hoping that he would have an opportunity to demonstrate to me how he quantifies. Does he quantify globally? Does he quantify by using one-to-one correspondence? Is he counting? And if so, how accurate is he? Tell me again how far you're going to go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You're going to move 6 spaces. You go ahead and move 6.
After working at the math table, Brenda goes with Nizar to the easier grid game, where she encourages him to think about small sets.
I think I'll go 2.
2 for you again. Now what? 2 dogs?
Yes.
I wanted to see if he could count those using one-to-one correspondence, touching each animal as he said the counting word, and if he could do some comparisons between how many objects I had and how many he had. I also thought I could ask some questions like, how many more animals do you have to cover? If you roll a 3, will you cover all of your animals? How many more do I need to cover so I can cover all of them? 2 of them.
Brenda knows that Nizar is also interested in cars. She encourages him to build his math skills while he plays with the snap beads.
How many green ones do you have? I want to make mine just like yours.
3.
All right, so it's not an intentional math activity, but I feel like everything in the classroom has the potential for math learning and for me to ask questions, especially with something like those snap blocks, because I know from my observations of him, he makes cars. So I thought, well, that'll give me an opportunity to ask, how many wheels do you have? How many more will you need?
Throughout the next week, Brenda continues to observe Nizar and the other children in her classroom to see what new math activities might relate to the children's interests. We went back to Brenda's classroom 1 week later to see what adaptations she made. In order to continue to build on Nizar's quantifying and rote counting, Brenda speaks with his parents to determine where his math skills are in his home language.
And the dad said, in his native language, Nizar can count to 4, which is about where he's counting in English, and that was why I was trying to model in the first game that I played with him, trying to model up to 6 on the die, and that in his native language, he uses one-to-one correspondence to solve problems.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 spaces. Do you agree, Nizar? Does he have 5? 1, 2. He's looking carefully. Do you think it's 5 also?
1, 2, 3, 5.
As I observed him initially playing the games, he seemed pretty excited, but the more it became, I think, a challenge for him to solve the problem, and the more he observed other children solving the problem that maybe he didn't feel like he could solve, I started to see him back away from it a little bit. No, I don't think I'll take this risk. This is a little too scary. Let me stay with something that's comfortable. I noticed that he just began to speak very rapidly, and he got the rote counting sequence up to about 4 or maybe 5, and then he started saying even words that don't exist, 11-teen and things like that. I think trying to kind of cover up for what he didn't feel like he knew and make it over with quickly. Let's get through it. I'll point while you count. Ready?
1, 2, 3,
4,
16.
5, 6.
No, 11.
You'd like it to be 11-teen, wouldn't you? Try it again.
Brenda also incorporates math into a song the children have been singing in large group that holds Nizar's interest.
My white balloon goes sailing, oh so very high. All at once it goes kerpop, another one will fly. How many have we popped so far? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still going to continue to keep the quantities of objects I'm asking him to solve problems with under 5 or 6 for a while, till he becomes more comfortable with that, and I have to write all this down so I can remember it, and kind of look for patterns. You know, okay, he was rote counting up to 4, well, he's added 5 onto that now. All right, let's see if, in a couple of weeks, if I ask his parents whether his rote counting in his native language has increased to 5 or 6. I'm going to really keep them involved and give them ideas for what they can do at home that will be interesting to him.
We saw Brenda plan activities for the children based on where they are. She also chose activities that were challenging and achievable. Challenging and achievable experiences are a stretch for a child, but not an impossible leap. They are based on the individual learner's development, experiences, knowledge, and skills. Let's see how just achievable plays out in a game of catch at the park. Megan and Robin love to play catch. They are the same age and the same height. Everything about them looks the same, but their individual skill level is much different. Megan has been playing catch with her mom since she could grip onto the ball. Megan easily catches a ball that is thrown underhand. Throwing it above her head is too difficult. But having her reach for the ball just on the edge of her fingertips is challenging but achievable. Knowing Megan's skill level is key when individualizing and helping her achieve her goals. Robin has not yet learned how to catch a ball at the same skill level as Megan. A ball rolling on the ground is too easy.
That was easy.
But catching a ball that is thrown underhand is something that's challenging but achievable. Megan's easy catch was Robin's just achievable. Yes, the girls are the same age and height, but we need to look closer and assess their individual skill level. From this, we will be able to meet the girls where they are, understanding what they're capable of and identifying what challenges them. We have looked at meeting learners where they are and planning challenging and achievable experiences for them. We also need to determine what we want the children to achieve. This is where outcomes come in. Teachers need to be intentional in what they teach, and outcomes provide the roadmap to do that. Let's visit another classroom. Here we will see how Gertrude Woods uses outcomes as a roadmap for making decisions about what she is going to teach. Gertrude's class is a Head Start program that includes children with identified disabilities and several who are learning English as a second language.
Jordan, could you ask them again? Oh, they didn't tell you loud enough.
I didn't.
The thread of interest in Gertrude's classroom is rain and water. She assesses the children's needs and discovers that some of them do not know the difference between wet and dry. She plans activities to support them in understanding these words. Working toward the outcome, understands an increasingly complex and varied spoken vocabulary.
How can you make it wet?
It's dripping!
It's okay.
During group time, Gertrude uses a book with the children to reinforce the concept of wet and dry.
Just by being able to see what was going on the page, they were able to tell me what the story was about or what was going on, whether or not the child or whoever was on the page was wet or dry. And just being able to use that vocabulary, that would be a part of being able to describe qualities of objects is an outcome.
What does she look like she's doing?
Spraying water.
She's spraying water. She's spraying water. And then if she sprays water, what's going to happen?
Protected by an umbrella.
He's protected by But if he moves the umbrella, what do you think will happen? He'll get wet.
Gertrude also simulates rain with a spray bottle to build vocabulary and concepts.
What can you do to get dry?
Get a towel.
Get a towel. If I do it again, how are you going to feel? How do you think you feel?
Wet.
Morgan is one of the children who did not understand the concept of wet and dry. Today, Gertrude works with Morgan at the water table. She learns that he now has a good understanding of wet and dry.
Am I wet or dry?
Wet.
Wet.
Gertrude also learns that Morgan is demonstrating an interest in new water-related words, full and empty.
Miss Woods, I made it full.
I was really surprised at Morgan using the terms full and empty when he was using the eyedropper. I hadn't heard those terms before from him, and I think he did a really good job trying to work and trying to figure out how to get the eyedropper full.
Drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop. Are you getting wet?
No.
No. Did it work? Yes. Thank you.
The next day, Gertrude brings in speech-language pathologist Sandy Ferguson to reinforce Morgan's increasing vocabulary and comprehension of concepts around water.
Morgan was really tuning in better today than I've had him some days, and I think the smaller group actually really worked for him today. He was following the directions. He was able to do some discrimination between concepts.
Gertrude also plans an ice painting activity to support Morgan in learning more water-related words. This activity allows her to focus on the outcome, understands an increasingly complex and varied spoken vocabulary, and the math outcome begins to associate number concepts and vocabulary.
We talked about him putting the paint into the eyedropper And when he put it in, we discussed whether or not which eyedropper had more and which one had less.
Do you think it takes more paint to put in there or less paint?
Less paint.
So which one has more and which one has
This
less? Which one has less?
This one.
Gertrude Woods constantly observes the children in her classroom and plans activities that support their current skills and abilities. She uses meaningful learning through their thread of interest to support each individual child in achieving specific learning outcomes. We have seen that children need experiences that will help them stretch beyond where they are, but they can't spend all of their time on their tiptoes. Learners also need time to practice and become comfortable with what they have already learned. This idea of time for practice and challenge holds true for learners of all ages. To better understand this concept, let's visit a rock climbing gym to see how a day of rock climbing provides learners at different levels with opportunities to stretch and opportunities to practice.
If I'm trying to help someone improve in rock climbing, I'm not going to have them try something they couldn't possibly do. Okay, the first thing you need to do as a beginning climber is tackle that ceiling. And I'm not going to have them do things they can already do with ease. Okay, let's review and tie this knot one more time.
You know, I really do know how to do this. Can I start climbing now?
I'm going to encourage them to do something that is just within their reach. Okay, first of all, let's just walk through the basics of belaying. I know that when someone first comes in to try rock climbing, the first thing they need to learn is how to belay. All the way through. And then pull it through. There you go. That's your figure 8 knot. Some of the time, climbers should practice things they just barely got last time, but they also need to try something new. You learn the most from working on something that you can just manage to do with your utmost stretch. Another thing I do as an instructor to help challenge the indoor rock climber is to set up routes. Each route setup in a climbing environment has different grades of difficulty. However, a 5-6 might be easy for one climber, but for another, well, it might be the hardest wall she's ever tackled. Just last week, the green route was beyond David's current skill level. He's been practicing a lot, so today he is giving it his best effort, and I know he'll be able to pull it off. If he has trouble, I'll just give him a little suggestion, or coaching if you will, and I guarantee the next time he'll be able to do it on his own. Another thing I might do to help rock climbers become more proficient with their climbing is to suggest a strategy to work on, or how to approach a problem a little differently. Okay, see that one on your right there?
Yeah.
Grab that one.
Okay.
Perfect. So, there you have it. As an instructor, I'm here to help these climbers achieve the most they can on these walls. I have to avoid asking too much or too little. If I set goals that are too far beyond their reach, I'm sure they'd get frustrated. And if I set them not high enough, well, I'm sure they'd get pretty bored. I have to set the just right level of challenge. That maintains motivation, and that keeps them coming back to this amazing sport.
In the rock climbing gym, the teacher provided opportunities for challenges and practice. Preschool teachers need to provide children with those same opportunities. Teachers are also intentional about the outcomes they choose for children and the experiences they plan. And teachers are intentional about the strategies they use with children to help them reach those outcomes. Good teachers have a repertoire of many strategies to choose from. This allows the teacher to intentionally select the best strategy for each child at a particular moment. We are going to take a look at several types of teaching strategies that form the basis of a teacher's repertoire. Acknowledge. Give positive attention that tells the child you noticed what he said or did. Encourage. Offer comments or nonverbal actions that promote the child's persistence and effort, rather than giving him evaluative praise. Give specific feedback. Offer specific rather than general comment on the child's performance.
Then what happened?
And then he couldn't fit in that big chair.
He couldn't fit in it?
Yeah.
Why do you think he couldn't fit in it?
Because he was too big.
He was too big, you're right. All right, then what? Oh, look who's in the window.
Mom,
What's Mom saying?
we have something for lunch.
Something special. Not just special, but very special. And they did. Look what Willie did.
What did that look?
Yeah, so now they're painting the blue chair. What color?
They didn't paint that part.
No, they're still painting it though, right?
Yeah.
Because look, there's the paint, there's the paintbrush. They look like they're still working, correct? Yeah. But look what Willie did. What did he do?
Walked in the paint.
He walked in the paint.
Model. Display for children a skill or desirable way of behaving. Demonstrate. Show the correct way to perform a procedure that needs to be done in a certain way.
Push, push, push. It's coming through the other side, Sophie. What's that? What is this, Sophie? Push through the other side. Are you cutting it, Sophie? This wet cloth, Sophie, is to keep the clay moist. Where do you think they go now? Oh, thank you.
Create or add challenge. Generate a problem or add difficulty to a task or step so that it is a bit beyond what children have already mastered. Give a cue, hint, or other assistance. Help children to work on the edge of their current competence.
One in. Want to try another one? I'll hold it still. Whoops, wait, my finger's in there. Does that help? Put another one in. Now you try it yourself. See if you can get it in. Get a red one. You opened it up all the way and you got it in. What if I needed 3 bears, 1 red, 1 yellow, and 1 blue? Then what would you do?
How about we all have 3 of each color?
Do you think you can figure that out?
3 red, 3 yellow, and 3 blue.
Ruby, do you think you can figure that out if Louise wants everybody to have 3 red, 3 yellow, and 3 blue? She's working on hers. Emmy, can you figure out if you have 3 red, 3 yellow, and 3 blue?
I just need 2 bears, red.
You just have 1 blue and 2 reds. What if you put
2 yellow.
Now do you have it?
I need 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
You figured it out, Louise.
Provide information. Directly give children facts, verbal labels, and other information. Give directions. Provide specific instructions for children's action or behavior.
These are not like the gourds, because this was something that grew and dried out. These are ones that the teachers made from water bottles. And listen. So it's very, very similar. And I'll give each person a maraca, and as soon as you have your maraca, you can start playing it gently. Spray, squirrel, with your bushy tail.
Now let's see how one teacher intentionally uses a variety of strategies during a small group, pre-planned activity. Teachers can draw on multiple strategies to support children's learning within a single activity. Preschool teacher Sally Mumaw creates an activity for the children in her class based on their interests and skills.
They had been using that predictable book, A Hunting We Will Go, and it's one you can sing as well, and so they really like that. And they knew the book really well. So I decided to turn it around into a writing activity.
Watch as Sally provides information for the children.
S-N-A-K. There is a K in snake. Just like Karen has a K.
Sally demonstrates the rhyming pattern by repeating it over and over.
It says skunk. Oh, a-hunting we will go. A-hunting we will go. We'll catch a skunk and put him in a... You wanted to say bunk?
Working in small groups, Sally chooses just the right strategy to help children achieve specific learning outcomes.
There's your B. Okay, bonk. You need a U, just like in skunk. Okay, and then you need an N and a K, just like in skunk. Can you make an N?
Sally gives one child specific feedback about what he's drawing.
I see lots of interesting things on your picture here, Justice.
Look at it, I made it.
This is really long and it reminds me of a snake.
I change my strategies depending on the level of the child I'm working with. Some children really just want to see a model of how the print looks, so I might actually show them how to write the words they want so they can see how they look in print. And then they can go on in their drawing and writing part of the paper to write in their own ways. Other children are able to make the letters themselves, so I scaffold a little bit with them, helping them hear the individual sounds in the letters, and maybe even helping them to see how the letters are formed, but then they can go on their own and make the letters. So it's the same project, but it's a little bit different for each child.
Sally also uses the strategies to help her individualize instruction for one child with special needs. She encourages Josh to continue with the activity and acknowledges his interest.
What else is in the book? What is in there? There's the fox. A-hunting we will go. Hunting, we catch a lamb. We put him in a boat.
He was actually producing language from that book, and that's hugely important for him. So I decided at that point, a spur-of-the-moment decision, I'm going in the direction of his interest, knowing what his development is. And we're going to go ahead and we'll read the book together and let him supply the words he wants to. Because I can come back at a later time and get him to write something on his page of the book. The important thing is that he was really getting into the language of the book, and I wanted to support that.
Providing information, demonstrating, giving specific feedback, encouraging, and acknowledging. One teacher intentionally using different strategies within one classroom activity. We have seen how teachers meet learners where they are, plan for them experiences that are both challenging and achievable, focus on outcomes, and make intentional choices from a repertoire of teaching strategies to support children in reaching those outcomes. Now let's go back to Brenda's classroom and see how she puts it all together.
One of the most important things I have to think about in order to meet the needs of all children is before I ever set up the classroom, I know what the children are as far as their age. So that gives me a baseline. Most of the children will be going into kindergarten next year, and I have a small number who are younger, threes. So I think about what their needs will be on the child development continuum. Then I meet each one of them during my home visit. The parents come in the first few days as they're transitioning their children in. I watch how the parents interact with the children.
Brenda Hieronymus and assistant teacher Shauna Piper learn about the 3 to 5-year-olds in their class through multiple sources of information. They then use that information to plan a meaningful learning activity, turning the dramatic play area into a grocery store this week. Brenda and Shauna use various teaching strategies throughout the day in all curriculum areas: language, literacy, math, science, social studies, social, emotional, and physical development, and the arts. This activity focuses on literacy and math, with attention to language and social emotional development.
Let's see, he has 2 cucumbers, so give him 2 pennies. I tried to implement the money value in there by seeing if Andre recognized that it was a penny and how many pennies he had and how much it would cost to buy cucumbers, for example. And he said 2 cents because he had 2 cucumbers. So how many pennies should he give you? 2 pennies. So Evan, hand him your 2 pennies so he can put them in the cash register.
Brenda challenges Calvin while he's making a list for the grocery store. She demonstrates how to make a number 4.
It's kind of like making an L. You go down straight and over, and then you need that last extra part to come straight down. You want to try that? Do you want to try it on the other side, or you want to try it on the back?
This side.
All right, next to your banana, so you go straight down. Thank you, Amy. Straight down and straight across. And then you start back up here where you started the straight down line, but over a little farther, right over here by my finger, and go straight down.
Madeline.
And there's your 4. Another grocery list, all right? So now you've made a 4, Calvin.
This is Louise's second year with Brenda. Using multiple sources of information, Brenda makes the grocery store a meaningful learning experience for Louise as well as the other children.
I have another home visit with the parents, so I got to see Louise in her home after she spent the summer in France with her grandparents. So I learned all about her experiences in the summer and some of her new interests. I also recognize that Louise is now a 4-year-old, and there are differences in 4-year-olds, and so I'm aware of where she is along the child development continuum, and that helps me know what to expect from her. Do you know how many apples you want to buy? She's kind of a leader there and tries to teach them along with getting them involved in her play. So I just started thinking about, all right, what might she be interested in? How can I include math and science and literacy and whatever else I might want to include within this social setting of the dramatic play area? And I know that she's interested in writing, and she's more interested in writing this year than she was last year. At the end of the year, her interest in writing sort of blossomed, and she started doing some invented spelling, and her print is now very small and very even, so I know that she can take on the challenge of writing in smaller spaces. I really had no idea whether she could write numerals or not.
M for milk.
One for M for milk. One of the ways I might think about challenging Louise is to provide some sort of structure where she uses both writing and maybe math and the writing of the numerals, which doesn't occur naturally in a preschool setting very often. So by designing a grocery list with both the words and the pictures there, I was able to span the range of developmental abilities. She wrote the numeral 1, and then she actually included the first letter of the word. So 1 milk, she said, an M for milk, 1 apple, A for apples.
Using her repertoire of teaching strategies, Brenda is able to support Louise in reaching specific math and literacy outcomes.
You're going to give them to her to count? So many things to hold on to at the same time. Evan, will you put that on the table for me? It goes in the house. She's trying to count. If your hands are in there, she might not be able to see them.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You did it. You counted all 7 of them. Louise wants to have her efforts acknowledged, or just what she's doing acknowledged, as do most children. I also needed to do some encouragement to get her to go a little bit further. It wasn't hard to do, but sometimes you have to maybe take a step back and make the problem a little bit easier in order to encourage the child to go a little bit further.
In this program, we have introduced a few key principles of developmentally appropriate practice. To be effective in their work with young children, early childhood teachers need to continue learning from research and their observations of children. For additional resources on developmentally appropriate practice, contact NAEYC at www.naeyc.org. This production is based on the book Basics of Developmentally Appropriate Practice, an introduction for teachers of children 3 to 6, written by Carol Koppel and Sue Bradykamp, and published by NAEYC. The product is produced by Rise Learning Solutions.